Hello and welcome to the next episode in our Let's Look series. So this one is going to be a departure from D&D, which is weird seeing as I just started this whole Let's Look thing. But I recently got this book. I ordered it off Amazon, got it I think yesterday, and I haven't opened it. I've opened it and looked at the cover, but I have not opened it and actually read it. So I feel like this would be a perfect let's look at. And today's book is Imperium Maledictum Warhammer 40k. But not just the ordinary book. This is the collector's edition, which looks gorgeous. Like I don't think I've ever owned a book this nice. So let's see if we can get it out of the case. Oh, the bookmark is in there. Okay. But this is it, the collector's edition. Oh, it does come with a bookmark. But I haven't cracked it open. I haven't read any parts of it. So I think that's what we'll do today. So let's just start with the Macarian sector. Here's the thing. I'm out of focus. Come on, focus. Not focusing. I'm sorry. I don't own anything Warhammer. I only got this because I had recently been getting into Warhammer Rogue Trader. But why won't you focus? Sorry about that. It's my camera's having issues, but let's just go. So, it is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, so that he may never truly die. To live in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. So yeah, a lot different than D&D. But we've got our. I mean, just look at this book. I apologize for the focus. I'm trying. I'm trying. But this is if I read this right, this is the Warhammer tabletop RPG, not the war game. This is D&D adjacent, I suppose. But let's just start right off. Introduction, creating a patron, creating your character, which is important. Skills and talents, armory, psychic powers, rules, between missions, the Imperium, the Macarian sector, the Game Master, Bestiary, and appendices. I don't know how to pronounce that. But we've got our introduction. And it's blurry again. Welcome to the grim darkness of Warhammer 40,000. Roleplay Imperium Maledictum. You now enter the Macarian sector and join the millennia-long battle for survival against a hostile galaxy. The sector spanned hundreds of stars, conquered by the legendary Lord Solar Macarius, and now all fall under the dominion of the Imperium of Man. Like I said, I know nothing about Warhammer. I've just suddenly got into it. I'm gonna play this. Oh no, the binding is breaking. Why? Why is it like that? That's sad. This is a nice book. Look at the binding. It's splitting. That's not good. But let's continue. With the lives of most of the Imperium's countless billions of citizens are spent in endless, drudging toil, you have been chosen. Whether by luck or cursed misfortune, a true power in the sector, your patron, has lifted you out of obscurity to use what skills you have in pursuit of their own inscrutable agenda. You are bound to them, almost certain to die in their service, but in return enjoy freedoms far greater than those of the average Imperial citizen. You will travel the sector, witnessing events and vistas beyond the imagination of most citizens, and perhaps outright forbidden to them. From the lush fields of an agri world to the sterile manufacturums of Forge world. From the decaying bowels of gigantic hive cities, upwards into the glittering spires which pierce polluted skies, and further still into space, traveling the stars in void ships that ply the demonic realm of the warp. Your first step into the darkness of the Macarian sector begins in Chapter 2, where you will create your patron. Along with your game master and the rest of the players, you will collaborate to design the enigmatic figure that drew you together and decide upon their motives, their strengths, and their flaws. After this, players will create their characters in Chapter 3. Okay, so already, it's it's hard to, just reading it from the beginning. It's different. It's 40K, but it seems interesting. Using this book. Generally speaking, the first half of this book is for everyone. It contains the rules of the game as well as information that is useful for all players. Those who wish to have a wider understanding of the Imperium and their place within it will find Chapter 9, the Imperium, to be a useful primer. While those cursed to be a psyker will find Chapter 6, Psychic Powers, to be essential, the GM may wish to share some details from Chapter 10, the Macarian Sector, and Chapter 12, the Bestiary, with characters whose backgrounds are average citizen of the Imperium. Otherwise, most of the back of this book is intended for GM's eyes only, and other players are encouraged to avoid reading it as to not spoil intriguing plots or frightening revelations contained within. Okay. So I'm guessing this is kind of like a combination of Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, and Dungeon Master's Guide, which makes sense. Game text. This book uses some standard ways of presenting important information. Game terms. All game terms are capitalized, so you know when you need to use all of your skill or when you need to use a skill. Is that a cicada? Seriously? Sorry. Individual items. Some game terms encompass other game terms. In these cases, we capitalize and italicize the term. For example, talents include all the various talents you can choose from, such as void legs or forbidden knowledge. And conditions include the afflictions you can suffer, such as being blinded and incapacitated. Tests. When you are required to make a test, it is bolded. For example, making a very hard -30 Medicae test, patch up a wounded ally, or a challenging +0 range test to fire your laser gun at a traitorous informant. Acronyms. A number of acronyms appear regularly throughout this book, such as GM, Game Master, PC, Player Character, NPC, Non-Player Character, and SL, Success Level on a Test. Okay. Boxes. Box outs appear regularly throughout the book. These usually contain guidance, additional information, and snippets of lore about the Imperium and the Macarian sector. Self-explanatory. Marginalia. Some chapters are marginalia. If a word or piece of text has an associated marginalia note, it is presented in green and bold. These are often used to direct you to relevant sections of the book. The basics. Before creating your character, it helps to understand the very basics of the game, as otherwise some terms and choices you are asked to make may be confusing. One of the most basic concepts is a test. Tests come into play anytime the outcome of a meaningful action is uncertain. For example, if your character Valeria wishes to shoot her last pistol at an oncoming ganger, you test against her range skill or the ranged pistol specialization if she is lucky enough to have it. The GM will let you know when a test is called for, though you'll quickly get the hang of it. Okay. To make a test, the players roll 2 10-sided dice, D10s, and try to get a result equal to or less than your character's skill. All rolls follow the same steps. Okay, so it's a D100 system. The GM calls for a test. The GM tells you what type of test you're undertaking and the skill and specialization being tested. This is called a D100 test. Roll some dice. Roll 2 D10s. To generate a result between 1 and 100, to do this, designate one D10 as the 10s, yeah, I know, and the other is the units die. For example, a roll of a 1 on the 10s die and a 4 on the units die provides a result of 14, or a roll 4 and 2 results in 42. If both dice roll 0, the result is 100. Check for success. If your result is equal to or less than the value of your skill being tested, you succeed. Why is it sticky? I just bought this. I literally unboxed it yesterday. All tests in Imperial Maledictum follow these steps. though sometimes certain modifiers may apply, usually to make things harder or easier for you. For the complete rules on the test, see page 185. It's going to be a bit before we get to that. Life in the Macarian sector. Macarian? Having only recently emerged from the horrors of the Noctis Eterna, the return of the Emperor's Light has revealed the vast scale of destruction across the Macarian sector. The powers who dominate this sector, Imperial Adepts, sections of noble houses, Adeptus Sororitas, Canonices, Inquisitors, Rogue Traders, Ecclesiary Cardinals, and Tech Priest Magi are only now becoming aware of the scope of the devastation as well as the opportunities it might represent. While all ostensibly work for the betterment of the Imperium and the sector, each also have their own agenda. For this reason, they have recruited you, a deniable and expendable asset that can be used to advance their interest and tossed aside when you are no longer fit to serve that purpose. The following pages give you an idea of what it means to serve a patron in the Imperium Addictum and the perils you will face in such service. Okay. And then we get some beautiful art. A void ship, I believe. Lord Solar Macarius, Conqueror, Tactician, Butcher Saint, yeah. They say brought 1,000 worlds to heal, and when there was nothing left to conquer, he passed into the beyond. The Ecclesiarchy have raised countless monuments to Saint Macarius across the Macarian sector, but all pale in comparison to the Lord of Light. The Lord Solar is interred directly below his flagship on Macaria, a planet named in his honor. The result of it is a tombstone as staggering in scale as the ambitions and hubris of the man himself. I question if this is the best deployment of a fully functional Emperor-class starship, burning 16 gigatons of promethium every full rotation, to remain at geosynchronous high orbit as a mausoleum piece. Lord Alice Sejanus, who had to beg for support to address the many problems plaguing the sector, could surely use such a vessel. Battlefleet Macaria is engaged in no less than 23 different conflicts as I scribe this. But so it goes, and I suppose they did name a sector after him, one now holding billions upon billions of people, a bountiful sector and vital to the Imperium. While our ships are now hold strong against the threats from beyond, the line defending us from insidious internal threats is considerably slimmer. I am proud to form part of that razor-thin line. It's hard to read, like, I need new glasses. The Noctis Eterna has receded at last, only to reveal the horrors that fostered in the dark. The Macarius sector is in disarray. Only 1 in 10 planets can still offer its full tithe. What I lack most... Why is this... See, still sticky. That's weird. What I lack most of all is accurate information, and trusted hands with ruthless wills to act upon it. Agents to attend the myriad of problems the opening of the Great Rift inflicted on so many planets. Emissaries to remind the citizens of the Macarian sector the Emperor is still watching, that he protects, and that his servants deal harshly with the traitorous. These pages feel good. Are these the agents that I would choose if my resources were limitless? Hardly. Yet experience has taught me that some souls show their steel only once they've been hammered into shape upon the anvil of the Emperor's service. So I shall play the part of Forge Right with these base materials. It does take careful consideration which individuals to pluck from their place in the machinery of the Imperium. After all, those I choose will act with my authority and my representatives to others, which reflects upon me. My influence gives them travel, access, and experiences far beyond those typically allotted to them at birth. In exchange, they will learn dark truths about the Imperium that cannot be unlearned, face terrors they never even imagined existed, and ultimately endure a brutal death. What price is that set against a life of true purpose, a life that matters? How many pages is this? Okay, I'm going to finish this page, this section, and then creating patron we'll save for later. The demands of my service are many, for the Imperium's needs are great. My agents frequently find themselves at odds with other obstructive or deluded minions of the Adeptus Terra, which is shocking for any raised to believe we are united in our goals. The worst wound they suffer by far, though, is learning just how deep the corruption runs. Once you start plying the shadows, base treachery and petty crimes are everywhere. The Astra Millennium colonel that looks away at his regime's supplies are bartered for his own exotic indulgence. The Vigilites who turn a blind eye on the local protection racket for a handful of solars, the rogue trader that smuggles the sinister gods of the silent trade into decadent and eager highborn hands. While we fight threats without, we are ground down from within. Such is the merest beginning. All too soon my agents could find themselves on the trail of a planetary governor desperately attempting to cover up their ancient family's heretical traditions, or a witch cabal which has suddenly taken over a hive, or a youth who sold their family to abominations formed of glass and starlight for raw power. The thralls of the dark gods have wormed their way into the Macarian sector, and they must be torn out by the root, lest their presence fester like a rotting wound. The more they learn, the more my agents come to understand that they are alone. There is no one else to stand against the dark. In the field they have what little support I can offer, but not else. Their courage is essential, for if they fall, whole worlds may burn. Yet they will have no monuments, no stories will told of their glory, and no planets will be named after them. Why would anyone take on these burdens? For some, the relative freedom they experience is more than reward enough. They thirst to explore, to go beyond their allotted horizons, and serve the Emperor as a level beyond mundane expectations. They will see wonders and atrocities, find faith they thought forever lost. They will uncover the beauty of the Emperor's many worlds, the decadence and the misery. They might see the wicked punished, and sometimes rarely they even ensure that justice is done. Others are truly the devoted tools of the Emperor of mankind. My envy for these pure souls surprises me with its strength of feeling. I am a fervent and devout servant of the Imperium, but to be entirely without doubt, certainly in my interpretation of the Emperor's will, must be a place of immeasurable calm. I would pay any price for such comfort. I have ever been a devoted tool of the Emperor, but I envy those who think that faith alone shall allow the Imperium to prevail. For every loyal servant there are thousands who allow doubts into their hearts, who take no solace in duty and sacrifice, or whose thoughts are given without heresy. Or thoughts are riven with heresy. For what we do labor when the Imperium is suffused with such traitors. Some find a desperate solace in the work, drawn surely as moths to flame, driven forward in part by the inevitability of mortal danger. For what is the life of a cog when set against that of a weapon expertly wielded? As for me, I confess that in my darkest hour I take great comfort in couplet I discovered long ago, passed down from Holy Terra itself, supposedly penned in time of tribulation, when the Emperor still walked among humanity. Though silver in your palm weighs light, compared to death by bolt and sword, do not shy the hopeless fight, for endeavor in its own reward. Ambrosio Vicus, loyal servant of the throne, his work yet undone. Okay, so let me get my bookmark here. This bookmark. So we'll do creating a patron next. Also, this book, the pages are gilded. See? But yeah, that's the first episode. Kind of short, but I will be reading through most of this. I'm going to be reading the whole thing because I intend to run it soon. I'm really on a 40K kick. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.